reached the finale, Chapter 8 of the Seldom Heard Tales of Stinky Claus by me, the Freditor. Well, I hope you enjoy this. Here we go. Yeah, Witch Gardener's good at firing people, right, Carl? Asked Nick. Yes, she is, answered Carl. But in my case, she had a point. I've been chasing away customers with my stomach problem. She couldn't let that continue. Well, Carl, maybe she had to get rid of you, Nick shot back, but not me. I worked real hard, and to be let go because of some lies about me stealing. Nick, Witch Gardener was pleading, you were a good worker, but we let you go because you were waiting too long for lunch. Nick was getting angry again. Will you stop lying? I know someone said I was stealing stuff out the back door, but I didn't steal one damn thing. Anyone who says that is a damn liar. Now tell the truth. That's the real reason I got fired, isn't it? Witch Gardener realized that further lies would only get him angrier, so she admitted, okay, Nick, you're right, but we got the information on good authority. Now, if you want to sue Stacy's for wrongful dismissal, I can help you get the paperwork, but please let us go. Looking out the office windows, Nick saw all the police and the FBI and the news vehicles and the larger crowd of people standing there in the cold. Nick was getting nervous again and began to wheeze a little. He started to realize that he was running out of options, so he asked Witch Gardener, first tell me who your good authority was. Carl was listening to all this and getting an idea of whom the good authority was. Meanwhile, he continued to decompress his stomach. The warm half and half was doing a better job than he anticipated, and his gas was starting to come in waves. Witch Gardener turned to Carl and said, would you please stop that? It's downright disgusting. Nick got a brainstorm then. You know, I've always heard it could work, but I've never seen it. Carl, do you think you could light one of those farts on fire? Carl couldn't believe what he was hearing. He heard college students did those things, frat boys and such, but he was a 67-year-old man. He had never even thought of such a thing. But Carl wanted to keep Nick on his good side, so he shrugged and said, I guess I could try. Nick needed a lighter. When he was working at Stacy's, Nick had seen Witch Gardener's secretary take frequent cigarette breaks, so he ran out of the office to get her pocketbook and see if she had a lighter in there. To Nick's happy surprise, she had a Zippo lighter, silver-plated with an inscription on the side, to Mutzi, if you're going to smoke, smoke in style, love Daddy. The Zippo would hold the flame much longer than a Bic. So Nick asked Witch Gardener 3 more times, who told on me? And each time she said that she couldn't tell. And after the third refusal, Nick made Carl stand up and turn around, so his behind was directly across the desk from Witch Gardener's face. Now Nick wanted to Carl to break wind on demand to see if his experiment would work, but Carl triumphantly held it in. Carl surely hated this woman, but he would have no part in this terrorist plan. After Carl faked repeated attempts, Nick got tired of the threat, but was still interested in the idea. So he had Carl turn 45 degrees and face away from her, this time with the flame riding 4 inches high from the lip of the Zippo. Carl blasted away and whoosh! The intestinal methane did indeed catch fire, as beautiful blue flame, much like a sterno at a catered affair. Nick was so impressed that he proclaimed quite proudly, cool! But it also ignited almost all the papers on the left-hand side of Witch Gardener's desk, and the muskiness of the room fed the flames even more, soon setting the whole desk on fire. Witch Gardener belted out a high-pitched scream, she being tied to the chair. Carl stepped back, afraid his Santa suit was going to catch fire next, and Nick was getting frantic, looking for a fire extinguisher. Finally, Carl screamed at Nick, please untie her. Unsure of what to do at this point, Nick ran behind the desk and pushed it over, hoping to extinguish the flames, but instead catching the fire on the rug as well. The smoke in the room was getting very thick as Nick tried to untie Witch Gardener while still holding his gun, but this excessive coughing compromised his dexterity. Nick wanted to free her, but he really needed his ventilator, and to accomplish both he dropped his gun to the floor. As Nick reached into his pocket for the ventilator, Carl saw his opportunity and ran towards him, lunging with both hands straight for his throat. Carl got a tight grip around Nick's neck, while Nick tried weakly to fight him off with his left hand, grabbing desperately for his ventilator with his right. Finally, Nick passed out from the loss of breath. Carl put his hand inside his sleeve and picked up the gun, stashing it inside his suit. He was untying a coughing Miss Wintergartner when fire sprinklers finally came on. They both ran out of the room, Carl calling the police from Mootsy's phone on their way out. They met the police halfway down the fire stairwell and were whisked off to safety as the cops, the FBI, and the firemen burst into Wintergartner's office to squelch the fire and capture Nick. Once they reached the street, Carl handed over the gun and the paramedics treated them both for mild smoke inhalation. The New York Post headline the next morning read, "Santa saves boss from Nick in crime." On December 23rd, Stacy's held their annual employee holiday party, and their newest customer greeter, Carl McNally, was there along with the other workers. Peggy got to meet many of his co-workers and their spouses, including his replacement Santa. Peggy wasn't going to the party at first, but Carl's attitude about the store and its staff had changed so dramatically that she felt maybe she could change her feelings too. It had been a good Christmas after all. A last-minute merger of the local phone and cable companies had saved many from layoffs, including Carl's son-in-law, Eric Sr. Now Eric Sr. was not only going to install more phone lines, he was going to get free cable too. No more pay-per-view boxing at Carl's house. Eric Jr. was going to keep his scholarship and stay at St. Thomas with his father paying the rest of his tuition. Instead of a big tuition bill, Carl was going to use his month's salary to go to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore for experimental bowel surgery. A world-renowned surgeon had contacted Carl after hearing about his plight on the evening news. No more HMO doctors like Doc Gass for Carl and Peggy. And if surgery worked, Mr. Stacy himself promised Carl the Santa job in Rockefeller Center next Christmas. Nick the gunman made a deal with the authorities and was only going to spend the next 4 Christmases in jail. But since he was being cleared of being a Stacy's thief, it was only going to be a minimum security prison. The revelation that Nick was innocent came after minutes, about minutes after the hostage situation, when Karen, the security elf, was caught on FBI surveillance video selling merchandise out of the back of the store. And Miss Weingartner's secretary, Michelle, so that's her name, Carl said, laughing to his wife, handed out lyric sheets to the partygoers. The lyrics were for parody Christmas carols some Stacy's workers wrote for the party. The toner must have been replaced this time because Carl and Peggy's copies were sharp and bold. Reading the first few lines, Carl laughed in spite of himself. The replacement Santa was Carl's unknown friend, Sal, so he warned him about Karen being a spy. Sal played piano while the elves and other workers sang to the tune of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Stinky, the flatulent Santa, had a smelly finger that blows, and if you were ever downwind, you would even hold your nose. All of the Stacy staffers used to laugh and call him a name. They never let poor Stinky ever live down his shame. Then once a scary December 3, Wintergartner came to say, Stinky, with your butter flame, take that gunman's breath away. Then how the staffers loved him as they shouted out with glee, Stinky, the flatulent Santa, please consider a colostomy. Nah, you'll go down in history. From the Freditor.